What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Within Me, a podcast dedicated to the world of horror. I am your host, Eric, and each week I'm going to rate and review a new movie or TV show that falls within the horror genre. Now, this is a show for horror fans, hosted by a horror fan, who's just here to share my opinions and experiences with my fellow horror friends in hopes that you may gain something new to watch or not watch, and really just talk about all things related to this beautifully dark and spooky world that we call horror. So if this sounds like a show for you, stick around, we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Spooky Sunday episode of The Horror Within Me. It's me, your host, Eric. And this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the brand new 2023 film, Skinamarink. I heard about this movie when it was like being talked about on social media. I didn't have any idea what the plot or the synopsis was or anything, but I just kept hearing about it and seeing people post about it. Very polar opposite opinions, either very in favor of it, very not in favor of it, and it definitely piqued my interest and was one of the movies that I definitely wanted to check out for good or for bad to make an episode on the show about. So that's what this week's episode is going to be. But before we get started, I gotta talk a little bit about my night last night. Okay, so my week this week has been actually kind of busy. There's a lot going on. So it's actually, I'm recording this episode on Saturday, the day before it is released for you guys to hear, which is usually, I'm never cutting it really this close. But like I said, I was really busy. And so yesterday, my husband and I, we were invited to one of his friends' birthday parties. So we, she had said, meeting at her place at 8 o'clock. I'm like, 8 o'clock? Oh, God. I don't leave at 8 o'clock. This is a foreign concept to me, right? Let me tell you guys. Okay, so we go out we are going out in Philly. And like, love her and love her friends. Everyone's super cool and chilled. Like, we're all like, not rowdy or anything like that. Now, if you listen, you know that I no longer drink alcohol, but they all drink. Oh, that doesn't bother me. I have my fun zero alcohol drinks and things like that. So we hang out at the house for a little bit, and it was fun. We were chatting and catching up, saying different just stupid banter. And then we decided to go out, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been out to like a place like a tavern or a bar or anything like that in quite some time. It's just been really busy, and I don't find many reasons to have to be in one because I don't drink, and my husband's not a big drinker, so it's not like he's asking to go and I'm just going along. So I was like, kind of interested. I'm like, this will be fun, right? We have a large group of people, so it's not going to be super awkward. We have people we can cling to and talk to or whatever the case may be. So we get to this bar kind of place. There's like 3 bars in there, and we end up upstairs at one of the bars, and it's like its own little room kind of bar. It looks like a room in a house or something. And so I'm pretty sure it used to be one. And bartender, so freaking nice. I ordered tonic water and lime because that's what I like to get when I'm out, because it's not sweet or anything, and I can have a few of them and sip on it and not get like overly sugary mocktail drinks that I can only have like 1 or 2, and then my stomach's all fucked up because I'm an old person. But anyway, we're there for a little bit, and then I noticed there was like the way that the other people were, and they were very, the other guests, other patrons of the bar looked like children. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, they're young, but like there still wasn't like a mass amount of them. But when I mean young, I mean like barely legal. I question whether some of them got in illegally. And so like, I'm like, okay. And then there was this one time, all right, now I don't understand heterosexual white men. Few white guys came into the bar area we were at, like rowdy and like, yeah, you know what I mean? And then like bend their friend over, like pull his stomach out and are doing body shots off him. And I'm like, is this what straight white boys do? I don't know. This is weird to me. Weird to me. Um, and then as the night progressed, the bartender was super cool. Like I said, she had her phone hooked up to the speakers. They were playing like my generation, like growing up R&B and hip hop. They had like Freak a Leak, Get Low, Usher. Like I was feeling it. I was dancing a little bit. I was having a grand old fucking time. And then it happened. The swarm of 20 somethings flocked in from every fucking possible angle, and it was overwhelming, right? And so, like I said, when we first got there, along the wall there were these benches that were like built in with cushions. And so my husband and everyone's coats were there. So my husband and his friend and Jenny went and grabbed the coats. I debated about telling this part of the story, but it's just too good to not. Grab the coats, and they bring them over to the booth part by where we are on the other end of the bar. It's not a huge room, but it's big enough. And then out of nowhere, I see this person. He looked 15. Him and his friend come walking up, and they're saying something to my husband, and they're trying to take the coats. And I'm like, what is happening? It's so loud at this point. I'm like, what is happening? So I'm like in a group of people, and I'm watching, and then I've realized my husband must have accidentally, when they grabbed the coats, grabbed this guy's coat. But he looked like he was being something a little bit more than, hey, you accidentally took my coat. He looked like he was trying to be a little tough. And let me tell you, I'm not that person to play with, especially when it comes to like my people, like my husband or anybody. So I'm looking. I've locked eyes on him because I'm like trying to get a little closer because I'm trying to be like, what is he saying? Because I don't want to have to beat someone's child tonight. Like I will, but I'm trying to like figure out, because if he's trying to get rowdy, he's looking at the wrong person, because it's not gonna be him. It's gonna be me that comes out of the side like a velociraptor. You know what I mean? Like pay attention to your surroundings, because you clearly don't see that I'm about to hook off on you, little boy. And so his friend saw me looking. I must have been on my face, because he's like, dude, just it's fine. Just get your coat. Like, yeah, please tell your friend. Please tell your friend, because I'm a sober 30-something-year-old man in a bar full of 20-somethings, and then you trying to be rowdy. I will beat you like a child from back in the day. Get out of here. And to make matters worse, guys, I don't know if anyone knows what this is, but in New Jersey for a while, when my niece and nephews are growing up, because they're probably around the same age as them, my oldest one, who's like 23, they had to wear like public school uniforms, and it was like a light blue polo shirt and like khaki pants. That is what this boy was wearing. I'm like, bitch, to make matters worse, you came here right from school on Friday? Like, what is happening? What is that the dress code? And speaking of dress codes, and this is where I'm going to end this conversation and move on, is what the fuck? I just didn't know. I didn't know what was happening, because I've never been around so many young people at once in forever since I was one of them. Why do all the girls dress the same? I swear to God, there were hundreds, a couple hundred people in this bar. Had the high waist mom jeans and like the strappy neck halter tops that get tucked into the pants. Every fucking girl. There were all little variations of color shirts and stuff, but every fucking girl had on the same outfit. It was alarming. I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't remember when I used to go out, like everyone was real dressed their own style, or like had like groups of like, oh, they're kind of preppy. Oh, they're kind of gothic. Oh, they're kind of whatever. Skater. Everyone is the same. It's like fucking, what are those things like when you get infected by the alien host? They were like hosting alien bonds. So I've realized that then I'm gonna write a horror movie, and it's gonna be based on the true story of all 30-year-olds who eventually go back out to a bar/club and realize they're no longer the young generation, and there's new ones. I'm just gonna title it Young. Because my God, I've never, and I had a good time. This is not to take away from the fact that we had a good time until it got like to that point, and that's when I was like, "Alrighty, I am leaving. Have a great time. Enjoy the rest of your birthday." But everyone agreed, and they all went somewhere else. But at that point, we just ventured home because we had things to do today. But I just need to know if anyone else has experienced this culture shock of, oh my God, like I still feel like I'm good, I'm not old, but damn, I'm not that either. I'm not that. And speaking of young children, we're going to take that opportunity to segue into this week's episode's content, which is Skinamarink. I always think of Skinamarink, Dinky Doo, Skinamarink Doo, whatever the fucking song is from Sharon Lois and Bram, which again, I'm showing my age. This episode must just be about age, I guess. I don't know, because I am feeling it this week with being 36, guys. I am. It's not that I'm just ashamed of it, but it's just I'm coming to terms, I guess. So Skinamarink, I went on IMDb as always and Wikipedia and got some information. So we're gonna go down the list real quick and we're gonna do the synopsis. So the synopsis I found is as follows: Two children wake up in the middle of the night to find their father is missing and all the windows and doors in their home have vanished. Now the synopsis alone has caught my attention. I'm like, okay, that's intriguing. That's creepy, right? The release date is January 13th, 2023. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that it was released on January 13th. That's my one best friend's birthday. It's also my dog who's passed away's birthday. It's a good day. And it was, I believe it was Friday the 13th that just passed, if I remember correctly. And the movie stars Lucas Paul as Kevin, Dolly Rose T-Trot as Kaylee, Ross Paul as dad, and Jamie Hill as mom. Like mom and dad are just mom and dad. We don't give them more of an identity. They're not independents. They're just parents. Directed by Kyle Edward Ball, written by Kyle Edward Ball, produced by Dylan Pierce. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Its genre only was horror. I couldn't find a rating, and I couldn't find a tagline. The IMDb rating is a 5.1 out of 10, and under Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 71% on the tomato meter and a 44% on the audience score. So that's like on paper, Skinamarink. And so based off that information with the synopsis, the genre not being rated, the IMDb rating for a horror movie, 5.1, is not as bad as you would think. And then for a tomato meter, to give 71% for a horror movie, and this is a found footage horror movie, I thought was very generous, very intriguing. I like that word today. So I was thinking like, okay, but the 44% audience score is like, usually it's reversed. Usually the tomato meter is much lower from the critics and the audience score is much higher. So I was like interested that was kind of reversed, but not too surprised based off of what I was hearing in the horror community on social media about it before I had seen the movie. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to move on to the next segment before I get too much involved in this, because I do have a lot to say about the movie. So before we get started, we're going to move on to the next part, which is going to be this week's terrifying trivia question. So this week's terrifying trivia question, if you have seen Skinamarink, you only are going to know, or if you've seen pictures of it, is what is the name of the toy phone used in the movie? So in the movie Skinamarink, and there's pictures, there's a children's toy phone that's used, and it's very popular. And it is never mentioned on what the name of it is in the movie. I'm just curious if you already know what the name is. So stick around to the end of this week's episode to get the answer. All right. So now that we have the terrifying trivia out of the way, I also want to apologize. I did not answer last week's terrifying trivia question, and I don't have the notes up in front of me. I had it, the notes kind of weird, and I forgot to check it back. So I apologize for not answering last week's terrifying trivia question. But if you still want to know what it is, send me a message, and I will give you the answer. Let's get on to the thick of it, right? Let's get into the best and worst reviews of Skinamarink on IMDb, because this is what I need to discuss. This is the part of the show that I'm so excited about, because it's such a movie that's so back and forth, right? We're going to start with the best reviews. I got a 10. I think I did all 10 out of 10s this week. So the first review um, for Skinamarink is titled "I've Never Cried After a Film Before." That was his warning spoilers. Sorry, that was truly horrendous to watch. I'm a new dad of an 18-month-old, so it probably resonated with me in a way it wouldn't have prior to having kids. After the movie, I held my baby for almost 45 minutes crying. The cinematography was absolutely unique and captivating. Now, here's a spoiler part, guys. So if you want to skip a little bit, I'm gonna read it. The concept itself, children suddenly in a Kafkaesque environment. I don't know what that is. Anyway, they're home, but now alien and hostile. No natural light exists. These children do exactly what kids would do, hover around the TV as the only source of light and comfort. Can we watch something happy? Makes me tear up thinking about it. Children who are utterly powerless suddenly thrust into the domain of a malevolent entity. It made me want to throw up. I've never had a movie elicit such an emotional response from me. 10 out of 10. This has got to be one of the most I emotionally driven review like like thing that I have read about a movie. I I I I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I didn't get it. I'm sorry. Um I don't even know how this person, like, maybe it's the fact because they are a new dad, maybe, of an 18-month-old, maybe it's sleep deprivation. I don't know. I didn't get that, dude, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And how is it written in November? When did I see this movie anyway? But I think it was pre-released before theaters. I just I think it's very it made you want to throw up. I made me want to throw up too for other reasons, but not because of that. I've never had a movie elicit such an emotional response. I don't get what it did. I mean, I'm not trying to take away someone's experience. I think it's great. Everyone has their own experiences, but I didn't get that. I'm just going to move on to the next review. 5.1 out of 10 is Criminal. This movie is incredible. That's the title. All right, here we go. There is only one other movie in the same style, and that is the director's first short titled Heck. Both Heck and Skinamarink are unbelievable depictions of absolute uneasiness. If you like odd, creepy, or fear in general, you'll dig it. This movie is going to blow the F up next month, and I'm so glad that Kyle was able to post a banger that's guaranteed to go cult. Cult horror is a special breed of film and not an easy genre to crack into. You will have questions after this film. You might not sleep well or easy after. The darker you allow your mind to go is how dark it gets. Skinamarink is a hot damn banger. I actually really appreciate this review. And I apologize if my voice sounds weird. Again, I was at a bar with a bunch of 20-year-olds yesterday screaming to talk. And I probably look a little tired if you're watching this, so don't judge me. But no, I actually really enjoyed this review of the movie because first of all, it introduced there's a short film titled Heck, so it must be the style of this director and creator of the movie, which is fine. Everyone has their own creative artistic expressions, right? Um I do agree that it has depictions of uneasiness in this film. There is something in it that is, there's just the visuals and audio of it does set an uneasiness feeling. Jesus, can I get that word out? I also think odd, creepy, or fear in general, you'll dig it. Definitely odd, kind of creepy. It depends. Like you said, I think it's subjective to what you're looking at and what you're trying to imagine. I think he said that, it's how dark you allow your mind to go. I guess mine wasn't going that dark. I like that they also predict it, like they're throwing a prediction out there so they can go back and be like, I wrote this on this date, mark my words. This movie's going to blow the F up and be like, get some points or something from someone that they predicted something. Also, hot damn banger is going to be the phrase of the week. Hot damn banger. That's what I'm going to say to people, and they're not going to know why. I appreciate this review. I thought it was a good review for the movie. Um, Obviously, it's a 10 out of 10, but I mean, I like the wording of it. I like the way that he or she or they wrote it. And moving on to the last best review for Skinamarink on IMDb. It is titled Completely Horrifying, but Not for Everyone. There's too much depth here. This isn't an entertaining slasher with jump scares and gore. If that's what you're into, you won't like this movie. In my opinion, this is exactly what a horror movie should do. Watching this movie made me feel nostalgic in a bad way, like a recurring dream you remember off and on and you can't escape, a creepy childhood song you can't get out of your head, words you can't express. You move too slowly and everything feels heavy and dark. You're alone with a foreboding sense of dread. It gave a very uneasy feeling. The element of horror is perfect, but it may be too much for some. The word uneasy is brought up again because it perfectly describes Skinamarink. Uneasy. A lot of other words can be taken in or out, but uneasy is, I think we can all agree, for many different reasons. Um, it definitely isn't a jump scare movie at all. So if you watch the trailer, you're not going to think it's a slasher. So we don't need that disclaimer. In their opinion, I'm glad we do. In their opinion, it's exactly what a horror movie should do. Uh, mm, is it? Is it? I feel like there's many ways horror movies can. It depends on the goal of the movie and the genres within the genre. But okay, um, I also can appreciate the watching this movie made me feel nostalgic in a bad way. I, I, it is definitely like a recurring bad dream you remember on and off and can't escape. Absolutely, it's absolutely that. And I do want to throw out there that it is it definitely words you can't express. Yeah, absolutely. So great review. Great title for the title of the review. Completely horrifying, but not for everyone. But is anything for everyone? Some things, some things people with most majority rules, but definitely completely horrifying for this person, but not for everyone. I agree, it's definitely not for everyone. And that is the top 3 best reviews on IMDb for Skinamarink. Let's get into the top 3 worst reviews for Skinamarink. I think I did all 1 out of 10s because I just felt like it this week. Coming in first, the title of this review is It's Not Artsy. You Can Say It. It Sucked. All right, here we go. In the words of Abe Simpson, who the fuck? I've coughed up scarier stuff than that. Skinamarink is a bland, pretentious, a film experimental only on the patience of the people who are watching it. It's all mood, no substance. It's proof you can make a film without a tripod or a light or an actual idea. I nearly fell asleep. I tried to leave early after 35 minutes of nothing happening, but ended up finishing it because the waiter didn't bring me my check until it was almost over anyhow. No, it's not just not for me. It's an awfully done film who can only find an audience in people who liking things that are anti-mainstream. It tries so little to be anything. How can you love it or hate it? I don't hate it. You didn't love it. I just nothinged it. The audience I saw it with had 3 people walk out. Other people saying, I guess the face at the end was scary. No, people, you aren't wrong. It was utter garbage with a good trailer. It was a feature film with 10 minutes of content. It sucked. That's not a controversial opinion. Well, clearly this person, first of all, who the fuck is Abe Simpson? Do I gotta Google this? I don't know who the fuck that is. And what does that say about me? I don't know. I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm gonna be very honest. When I was reading this and it said I nearly fell asleep, I did fall asleep twice. I dozed off like during the movie, but I was like I gotta get through this. And like, I don't think I miss anything. I just want to be very honest with you all that I did fall asleep twice watching this. So I can relate to this reviewer with that aspect. It's very all mood, no substance. I completely kind of agree with that in my own way too. It's a lot of just staring at different angles of the house and a little bit of dialogue here and there, and some different noises. So I don't know. It was a terrible review. I kind of also agree that this could be one of those things where like I'm different. I don't like I'm not mainstream. I only like films like Skinamarink. I can hear somebody saying that bullshit. It's okay to like this movie and also like fucking Halloween, whatever, 15, okay? Or Scream. Like you can be fucking have depth and like different types of films and music. I hate when people just fucking box themselves into holes. Just like every fucking thing. Be happy. Try a little bit of everything. It'll be fine. But that is the first worst review, and I there's a lot of pieces in it. I I think the title's funny. It's not artsy. You can say it. It sucked. It's like, don't be scared now. I will spearhead this and I'll say it first, and then you can just follow suit. You don't need to be the person taking the lead on this. I'm sure other people will say what they need to say. Moving on to the second bad review, titled Straight Trash. I went into. All right, I'm going to read it how it's written, people. You know how it is. I went into movie and I hadn't watched the trailer because I feel like trailers, especially the horror genre, give away too much. Anyway, I never been more annoyed watching a movie. The movie was repetitive and way too long to just be looking at ceiling corners, toys on the floor, and listening to white noise static. There was no payoff. Straight trash. At one point, I was like, give me something, man. Anything. Nope. Just more bad angles and child whispers. I wanted to like this movie. I just give props to the director for believing in this and seeing it through to the end. I'm sure it made sense to him. That was a nice way to end a 1-star review that you titled Straight Trash. Like, I hope it made sense to the director. I hope they didn't like get through and was like, we're in it now, fuck it. And they just put it out there hoping to be destroyed by critics. I don't think so. Of course they loved it. Of course they had, believed in their movie. I don't see it's a warning spoilers. What did you spoil? I don't think you can spoil Skinamarink. I am going to dare someone right now, whoever you are listening, I'm going to dare you to write a review and send it to me that you think spoils Skinamarink. I need a review that actually, like, if I read it, ruined the movie for me. Because I don't see how that's possible with this movie. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. Um, it is very repetitive. I can agree. I can agree with that. Ceiling corners is not an exaggeration. I'm There's ceiling corners. There's carpet shots only, like um lights, night lights, television. Yeah, definitely. He wasn't exaggerating, or she wasn't exaggerating on that. So again, I think it's funny that they gave props to the director. Good for you. It was a nice way. I also like that they were like they put in the word straight trash in the review to like kind of play off how they titled like their review. And now it's time for the final worst review of Skinamarink from IMDb. And this is titled Never Getting Those 100 Minutes Back. Dot dot dot. Was it scary? No. Was there built up tension? No. Was the sound evoking anything? Yes. Pure annoyance in the white noise and random louder segments. Let me help you build your expectation. Long shots of grainy hallways, children's toys in the floor and on the children's feet, and children's feet walking, random dialogue that you can barely hear every 10 minutes. The whole movie is grainy video that never focuses on anything worth watching. If this had been a 15-minute short, it may have been worth a watch for the concept. Unfortunately, this is 100 minutes of boredom and wishing it would just find a moment entertaining. Given we had three sleepers just on our row in the cinema, managing to stay awake the full 100 minutes was a miracle. um, yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, my favorite review. It really is my favorite review of this movie. Um, there it was random louder segments. Definitely, I didn't know what the fuck was happening. um, the grainy fucking picture was, I don't know why we needed that. Um, didn't need it, and I completely agree that if this had been a 15-minute short, it might have been different for me, a different experience. And also, again, three people in the cinema managing to stay awake. Like, I was home, and yeah, I fucking knocked out twice. Not for long periods, because like I said, I got through, but I knocked out twice. Like, the movie knocked me out twice because I didn't know what was going on. I just was trying. I stuck it out because one, I wanted to do an episode on it, and two, I really wanted to see where it was kind of going. Right. This is my favorite review because I feel like it is pretty accurate, and it gives you, like, it does set up your expectations. Like, this is what you guys can expect. So kudos to this reviewer. It's going to be hard. It was hard for me to top my review that we're going to get to in a moment for this film. So that concludes the top 3 best and worst reviews from IMDb for Skinamarink. So that moves on to the next part of the show. So this is difficult. Favorite thing from the movie for me. I actually do have a favorite thing from the movie. And it's a spoiler, but it's the bedroom scene with the mom and dad. Now, this is the only part of the movie for me that actually I was like, oh, we're getting into something. Oh, my heart rate's elevating, getting a little nervous. And so I'm going to just describe the scene. So this is a spoiler. If you don't want to know it, don't listen to this part. But the little girl goes into the room and the dad's sitting on the bed, and it just freaked me out a little bit because I'm like, what's happening? Oh, there's another person. And he whispers, look under the bed. And that fucking freaks me out. And then there's the rest of things that play out. I'm not going to leave it at that. But that's the only part of the movie that I really, really liked. And what I didn't like the most from Skinamarink, and I have to be honest, is how long the movie was. Like I said, I agree with the other person from the review who said if this had been a 15-minute short, it might have been different. This movie was entirely too long, for an hour and 40 minutes, like a full feature-length film for a concept that they were going for, right? Very drawn out. I think that their expression and their point was made very early on, and the drawn out shots were too long. For example, there were shots, like I said, where, like, for a pull from another review, like a corner ceiling, weird angled shot, would last for like a minute or so with nothing going on. Like, you don't see anything. I feel like it was just overly long to the point where, like, I also thought like maybe something was, my TV froze or something. Yeah, I agree. And that was what I liked the most about Skinamarink and what I liked the least about Skinamarink. And before we move on to my final rating and review for the movie Skinamarink, it is time to answer this week's terrifying trivia question. So to revisit, the question was, what is the name of the toy phone used in the movie? And the answer is Fisher-Price Chatter Telephone. This fucking thing had a name. I don't know. It's a fucking toy phone, right? Who knew? Yeah, it's made by Fisher-Price, and it's a Chatter telephone. And I Googled it, and like, it's been around forever. I didn't see when it was like first released, but I did see that they are still being sold, like looking a little updated and not as like vintage, but they are still selling them for children. Like, must be very popular fucking toy that it's lasted decades, right? But that is the answer to this week's terrifying trivia question. And it's time at the end of our show for my rating and final review. We've gone through everyone else's, different reviews, but it's time for me to give you my opinion. So I've decided, since we did, we're sticking on the theme for toy phones, the rating system for this week's movie is going to be those toy phones. And my rating for the 2023 film Skinamarink is a 2 out of 10. I almost gave it a 1 out of 10. Like, I truly did not enjoy this film. I really didn't like it. And if you didn't catch on by the other things I was saying about this film already, I'm going to make it very clear. I did not like Skinamarink. That doesn't mean that other people cannot like it, but I did not like it. And the only reason I did not give it a 1 out of 10, because I was like, definitely 1 out of 10. Like, fuck it. I have to give it a 1 out of 10. And then I was like, wait. I actually got scared with the bedroom scene. So it did scare me for one brief moment. And that is why it got a 2 out of 10. The only reason it got a 2 out of 10. Other than that, I don't get it. And this takes me back to, like, being so lost. Like, found footage is a horror genre for me too. Like, subgenre of horror. The weird moving of the camera stuff. Like, found footage is not always, it's not my favorite genre of horror. But it's not that I can't appreciate it, because I appreciate other found footage films. This was just not for me. Which brings me to the review that I've written for Skinamarink. It's time for my final review. And here we go. Skinamarink had a good concept with poor execution. The grainy video combined with bad audio was not a compliment. The audio volume range was so bad that even my dog became upset at several parts, and that's not a good thing. This film would have done well as a short TikTok video with potential for a bigger studio to take that concept and provide a larger budget to take the idea and smooth it out for audiences and theaters. The shots of corners, walls, floors lasted entirely too long, to the point that the only reason I knew the movie was still going was by the annoying flickering light you see on the TV that you get when you try to record it with a device. Maybe I am officially too old for the new concept of horror, but this movie was not for me. And that's what I mean. Like, this week is all about me feeling like I am definitely in the new generation has definitely taken over everything, because I've been shocked into my own reality of I am not that generation. I am a proud 36-year-old, and nothing to the other generation, but some things I'm not going to be able on the same wavelength with, and I have to come to terms with that. And for me, Skinamarink is not for me. Kudos to those it's for. And if you want to check out Skinamarink, it is streaming now on Shudder. And that concludes this week's episode. So everyone, enjoy your week, and I will see you all and speak with you all on a brand new horror movie content next week. Bye. Thanks again for joining me on this week's episode of The Horror Within Me. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review wherever you listen to your podcast. And for even more Horror Within Me content, visit my Linktree at linktr.ee/Horror Within Me for links to the website, my Patreon, and all of my social channels to stay up to date on all the spooky stuff that we're doing. So be safe, and until next time, stay spooky.